Maybe you're thinking that folks would say this around the SEC. I'm not sure. But Gene Chizik over this past week had this to say about the Georgia Bulldogs as they get ready for their big time fight with Michigan coming up. He said, I don't think anybody at Georgia is going to panic. I think very specifically said, I don't think anyone is going to panic at Georgia. And he went on to talk about, the busted coverage, frankly, that Georgia had in their game against Alabama. And certainly has been a lot of talk about the Alabama game. I mean, this is the ultimate lose before the bye week situation for the dogs. No, you never want to lose going into a bye week because it just or not even or just not play well. And we've seen this over time at Georgia. I can think of a few times. 2007 with the Gators for sure, nearly losing to Vanderbilt. People sweating it for 2 weeks, and they go and really thump the Gators pretty good. A couple of weeks later, 2018, with LSU losing by 19 on the road at LSU, and then a lot of hand wringing going into the Florida game, a game that there was a lot of concern going into that game. There was a trendy pick for Georgia to lose. I did not think they were going to lose that game. Um, and then I think, now I don't want to say this wrong, but the South Carolina game when they beat the Dogs was earlier in the year. Georgia still had to go beat Kentucky, which they did, but they didn't play well in 2019. Headed up to that Florida game, it was a pattern where the offense just could not score couldn't score over 30 points, and yet amazingly they ripped off, you know, 10 of 11 or 11 of 12 games in the regular season, including wins over Auburn, Texas A&M, the Gators, Notre Dame. It was trial by defense that year for sure. But Gene Chizik's right, but the Dogs have to prove him correct. I don't think anybody's going to panic at Georgia. It's a little bit what you'd expect someone who is close to this league would say, but Gene doesn't. They don't just make stuff up in the post game SEC uh, commentary on SEC Network. It's really a great show. If you do not watch him and Chris Doering, and Ben Watson's on there some, but it's mainly Chizik and Chris Doering. They call it like they see it. And right now I think that there's a lot of, I don't know, even soul searching is probably the wrong way to put it. There were mistakes that were made in this game that Georgia's going to have to correct. And if they don't, they'll lose to Michigan. I mean, you cannot have players running wide open like that. It was very uncharacteristic of Georgia to play the way they did against Alabama. I mean, the receivers at Alabama, I think, and talking to one insider, I don't know if Georgia realized just how good the two receivers are at Alabama or were at Alabama. One of them, of course, will miss these games coming up. But that was probably the biggest area where either Georgia didn't realize it or knew it and thought they could handle it, and that wasn't the case. That was one section that was a problem. I think, and I was just watching Chip on Feinbaum's show, and he reiterated on there what I've talked about for a long time since this Alabama game. There were no sacks. I mean, that's just like, first of all, hard to believe that Georgia would end a game without a sack. But secondly, against one of the most sacked players in the SEC, for him to be avoid sacks a lot. He got pressured, but they didn't bring him down. Sacks in drives, and you only have so many drives. I mean, you typically have around 12 drives a game, something like that, about 3 drives a quarter. It depends if you're kind of real fast, like Tennessee. Sometimes you can have more, but sometimes you can have fewer. I mean, sometimes you can have 9 drives in a game, which is not very much, if you think about it. So sacks really are an important part of football. And when you probably should have 3 sacks and you have zero, that's a problem because teams they survive and score points. It's problematic. Excuse me. Just got my flu shot the other day. ready for the winter season and ready to wonder where this goes for Georgia. You've got signing day coming up. By the time y'all see this, a lot of you, we will be right on top of signing day, and then practice will start in a matter of days here. I think they're going to start on Saturday, but they certainly could start quicker than that. I don't know when finals end, but as a program, my understanding is that it's Saturday. I'm not reporting that. I don't know for sure, but there's going to be a media day coming up shortly. Kirby will talk about what's been going on. It will be like a combo media day and for the Orange Bowl and for signing day, so it won't be maybe as long as you would like uh, discussing both of those things. But there is work to be done, and now you have the breaking ball that is Dan Lanning going to Oregon, a job he totally should have taken 100%. And there are some new variables here, but it really is up to the players to be accountable to themselves and to one another for the performance that they had against Alabama at the Dome. If they do not fix correct the problems that they've had, they will not be successful against Michigan. Now, that line is ticking up ever so slightly, but Georgia is still slightly more, about a touchdown and a point favored over Michigan these days. Some people have it at 8.5. And it could go a little higher as we get moving on. But, what will it mean for Chris Smith to be, fully healthy? Is Latravius Brini going to be in this mix? And yeah, and I've talked about this a lot, and you don't want to make this mistake. You don't want to play the Alabama game that you played on December 4th or 5th, whatever day it was, against Michigan on the 31st. They're not the same teams. The emotion will be different. A lot of Georgia fans going there for that game. Let me tell you, it is. I have been a little bit surprised that there's not going to be more Michigan fans. It appears that the bulk of that stadium is going to be the bulk. More than half of that stadium, it sure seems like, are going to be Georgia fans. And you look at the Michigan side, and you can get a ticket in every single section of the Michigan side. There are a few more tickets than have previously been available on the Georgia side, but there's a lot of taken seats on the Georgia side of things. I mean, they're just not available to purchase. So I think this is going to be a partisan Georgia crowd. It's a state away. I know it's, almost as far to like Cincinnati, Ohio, from Athens and Atlanta to, excuse me, from Athens to Cincinnati is as much as it is like Miami to Atlanta. But uh, still, I thought there would be more Michigan fans, and we'll see. We'll just see. Maybe I'm wrong about that. That's a 10 hour drive from Miami to Atlanta. I wonder what Cincinnati is here. Uh, it's probably got to be close. Yeah, it's closer to Cincinnati. So Cincinnati's only 7 hours. So I just, it's a heck of a drive. It's only a state away. That's true. But, is what Gene Chizik's saying correct? Is our, you know, is this defense ready to perform? And I'm assuming Gene is talking about the defense exclusively, but he certainly could be talking about the offense. The offense has got to improve. It's uh, it's got to be better than what it was, or Georgia's really not going to be successful in these games. Um, it's just what it is. And, there can be no panic. That's a 20-hour drive from Ann Arbor to Miami. So that's rough. Um, I don't even know what to say about that. You could almost be in New Mexico by the time you drove 20 hours from Atlanta. But this is a game where these guys have got to take accountability for what happened uh, the other day. And if they are not um, real with themselves, I don't know. And now Gene is saying, hey, I don't think anybody's going to panic, but will they make the corrections? We'll see. Time will tell. Make sure you're taking advantage of this $2 deal below. We'll see you over on Dog Post.